tell me, why did you say yes in this conversation that we started randomly one day to being the co-host of this podcast?
It's just jealousy. Because when I watch your podcast and I see what you're doing, I'm like, that is just cool.
That's not exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting you to say something nice about like helping women and things. I didn't expect a compliment. I wasn't like fishing.
Well, that too. I do love helping women and men. Honestly, like, it's just cool what you're doing. And I'm just thrilled to be here with you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That wasn't what I was fishing for, but hey, I'll take the compliment while we're here. Well, welcome back to the Renegade Ventures podcast. This is season 2, and I'm so excited to be here. I have announcements and wonderful things that I want to talk about. And the biggest and obvious, most first one is that this season I have a co-host, Maggie Harlow. So some of you might have been here for season 1, and you would have maybe caught the episode with Maggie talking about her business and her background. And in that moment, and even when we originally started it, I had this feeling that this might evolve to having some sort of co-host that could help have bigger conversations with these entrepreneurs and could bring more women into the conversation. And so I am just so thrilled that I get to bring this show back for another season and in a new iteration of itself. A year and a half ago when I started this show, I was looking to buy a business, and then in the process of buying one, end up having to take a pretty good pause because I had so much on my plate at that moment in time. And but it's just been a passion. And so here we are, we're back, and we are in our sparkles.
Got our sparkles on, got our contrasting sparkles.
And today is kind of episode 1 of season 2, and talking about bringing you up to speed on where we're at in our lives, why we're here, why we're doing this in the first place. So Maggie, for anyone who doesn't know, why don't you go ahead and reintroduce yourself to our audience?
Okay. I own Signorama downtown, which is a franchise of the world's largest sign franchise, Signorama. And my husband and I have owned that for 21 years. So we're very happy to celebrate that this year. And it's been an incredible journey. We have been through all the difficulties of the economy that anyone who's been in business has been through and survived them. We are amazed sometimes that we survived them. And we went through an acquisition 2 years ago, which we talked about in the podcast, which was a painful experience, but it was an incredible opportunity for growth. And since that acquisition, our company has really transformed. We've promoted people into management and built a management team. So now I get to really serve as a CEO of a company. And it's been the most fun I've had in business is at this stage. Has been fun to develop people and watch the company get carried by other hands. So I do that. And then I have another part-time job as the executive director of the Jack Harlow Foundation. So that's another little part-time gig I have.
Part-time. She's actually like one of the busiest, most coolest people I know of all time. And you also have been spending some time doing art. So can you tell us a little bit about
Yes, I have picked up, I studied painting in college, and I've picked up the brush again. And yes, I've been making art. So that has been amazing. I had my first show this year. Never expected to be able to do that. And I'm just so grateful for this community of Louisville, Kentucky, where it almost feels like anything's possible.
Yeah, yeah. And well, for me, I really wanted to think, when I was thinking about having a co-host for this, I think that we get different perspectives, right? You're 21 years in to owning Signorama. Before that, you had a family business that you were actively participating in a part of. And you also do quite a bit in the nonprofit space. You can bring a lot of different perspectives to this journey and of business ownership. You've also participated in a thing called Vistage for several years, and just recently I graduated. I'm going to call it graduated out of your CEO roundtable because you're in a new season of life. But you've been a mentor to me personally in my throughout my career and in my entrepreneurial journey. And so I'm just excited to bring that sage wisdom of your ownership and leading. You also own your business with your husband, yes. Which is a unique. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it is unique. A lot of people are in
family business is a
very
thing,
common
right?
thing, a very common
it's not
thing.
actually unique,
Yes. But it is unique in that we really have tried to define our roles cleanly, and that's helped us get along. This is your responsibility. This is my responsibility. And we might play in a sandbox side by side, but we have our own sandboxes. But in the end, I'm so grateful to him because he really encouraged me to start a business, and he agreed I should really own it and run it. And he works really under me as CFO, but his advice is golden. So we've had an opportunity. We went through a lot of difficulties. It's not easy. We've had plenty of fights and lots of disagreements, and it's been really painful at times. But I feel like as we age, it's just gotten more and more kind of magical, and we get to see each other as our best selves. We get to see each other doing the thing we're good at within the company. So it's sort of like we get to admire each other and go, wow, you did really good there. So it's a wonderful stage to be in now where we can really, really just appreciate one another and enjoy it, where for a long time it was gloves off.
You're still married, so
we're still married.
So tell me, why did you say yes in this conversation that we started randomly one day to being the co-host of this podcast specifically?
It's just jealousy. It's just jealousy. Because when I watch your podcast and I see what you're doing, I'm like, that is just cool. And I really just, when you and I were talking about your business, and I just was like, I just want to do it, but I don't have the time to create a podcast or brand. None of that interests me. I just love the conversations, and I love how you run this podcast. And so when you were like, well, just co-host it with me, it was like, I was just taken aback because I know you created this, it's your baby, and to invite me in to play in your sandbox with you.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's not exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting you to say something nice about like helping women and things. I didn't expect a compliment. I wasn't like fishing.
Well, that too. I do love helping women and men. I love to help men and women, and they help me. Yeah. But no, I really was just like, honestly, like, it's just cool what you're doing, and I'm just thrilled to be here with you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That wasn't what I was fishing for, but hey, I'll take the compliment while we're here. So I want to give our listeners some things to think about or what they can expect this season. And I'm kind of curious, what are you hoping personally to get out of it, and what are you hoping to bring?
I personally hope that we have a lot of fun and have an opportunity to talk about some of the more inner experiences of being a business owner. I love that you talk more about transactional and explaining terms and helping us learn about all the ins and outs of buying and selling and owning a business. That technical stuff is so critical, but I just kind of love more the juicy inner stuff that goes on.
Yeah.
That how it grows you as a business owner and how it makes you really appreciate who you are. And so I want to get it to some of that, but I also am hoping we get into some maybe a little uncomfortable conversations, maybe some truth telling, a little bit of honesty that is sometimes difficult, but because I think business ownership is so messy, I think it's good for us to be able to talk about some of the messy stuff. So I hope we get some of those conversations in there.
I love the messy stuff too. Yeah. So
this is your second season, right? And so what sparked the decision that this was the kind of podcast you wanted to do?
So I think for me, I have been passionate about entrepreneurship and business ownership for an absurdly long time. Like, different people come to this path like accidentally. They might get here to owning a business because they were extremely passionate about a particular product, or they might have just like fell into it because they had a good idea. I was 14 years old and saying I wanted to go to school for entrepreneurship. And so like, I care about this topic, and my degree was in entrepreneurship. And I don't necessarily recommend an entrepreneur degree here nor there. I think you get to learn by doing mostly, but I knew that I wanted to own a business, and I didn't really know what that was. And I didn't know about acquisition at all. And I found myself buying Resonate a year ago and not, and still having that passion for female entrepreneurs, business owners, and still taking a lot of coffees talking about the acquisition process. And Renegade was something that I was passionate about, right? And so this is me getting to show off the cool, amazing work that Resonate Recordings does, while also getting to talk about something that I'm truly deeply passionate about and helping other people carve their own path here. I think of being everyone's like hype girl or cheerleader or pushy, like I'm your pushy friend. When you say you want to do something, I'm going to like push you to do it. Yeah.
Stop talking about it or do it.
This is my way to get to be a part of that. So,
do you think Louisville has something special for women business owners?
Yes. And I don't think I even knew it. I mean, I've been a part of this community for 7 or 8 years now. And even before that, I was still in Kentucky, right? I wasn't in Louisville, I was in Lexington, but my entire career for the most part has been here and in the entrepreneurship space. But, and we've had really neat women along that journey. However, recently, and maybe it's just my own ownership in it now, but recently we've had several like breakfast groups pop up or evening happier hour groups pop up of women coming together and supporting each other from like lots of different types of businesses in a really unique way. And some of us are complementary. Some of us, we have nothing to give to each other other than love and support and cheerleading. But there has been I don't know, there's a wave here happening. There's some sort of like current tide pulling us together that I would be interested. Has it always been there? Or do you feel like it's like this coming together right now in this season?
I feel like when I started my business, I immediately joined the National Association of Women Business Owners, which is now a Kentucky chapter, but it was a Louisville chapter back then. And so I was aware of the organization, and so I joined immediately and felt that sense of kinship and sisterhood right away, and kind of got hooked on it. You know, I was sort of like, okay, I need more of this in my life. I think Louisville has, since I've been in business, has always been I never had anyone tell me they wouldn't buy from me because I wasn't a man, or I never felt.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
I never felt like men wouldn't do business with me or anything like that. I did feel judged sometimes by other sign business owners that were male, but really in terms of the community, I felt like it's a very friendly place to start a business. But in particular, I feel like women don't compete with each other here. Like there's a real warmth and genuine, like you can win and I can win. We can both be in business and grow and help each other.
I wonder if you bring that out in people more than that being like a community-based thing. I hope that it's a community-based thing, but I know that's your personality.
It's the water. It's the pure tap in Louisville. It's the pure tap. Generates great, smart, amazing women.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yes, for sure. No, I'm addicted to it. And it's effortless. I feel like with women, Happier Hour is a great example. You know, I met 2 women who I didn't know, and I said, "Do you guys want to do something? Like, you want to create a little something, something?" So we had a cocktail party, and then from the cocktail party, without any effort from me at all, everyone in the room was like, "Well, we're going to do this every month." And then they just started passing it around the hosting and made up whatever rules they wanted to make up, and now it's off and running. And I think women in this town thrive because of that energy of like, I don't know, you want to do something? Let's do something. Just like this. You were like, you want to do this? I was like, yes. Now we're doing it.
Yeah. There are people who are ready to lean in and do things, and they're willing to be there for each other and to support on that. And I think we want that to even transcend our local community. And I also think that this is about education that is open. There's been a lot of rooms. I even remember you specifically. We were talking about angel investing years ago, and you were talking about wanting to learn about it, but being not afraid to ask questions, but just like the vibe wasn't a room that you could ask questions in. And I think that that's part of this is like oftentimes in particular rooms, you might not feel comfortable enough to ask a question that you might feel like makes you exposed.
It's like everyone has the lingo, and you feel like the only person in the room who doesn't know what that lingo means.
Yeah.
And you feel like, is this the place I should ask that? Maybe not. I'll go call my friend Ellie when I get out of here.
Or Google it. Well, but I think I spent the first part of my career in these rooms Googling things under the table,
Yes.
right? Or asking stuff and feeling a little embarrassed, or, having those moments where I didn't know. And so I was learning, and we're just passing around the information. And I would like to not gatekeep the information. I want to pass it around. And when people, it wasn't even 2 or 3 years ago that someone was saying the words dry powder. And I was like, what the frick does dry powder mean? And it's like literally cash on the sidelines that could be used for something.
If you need it.
Yeah. And, but I remember literally thinking like, it was just a broy room, and they were throwing around the words dry powder. And I was like, what the frick is dry powder? And I want to open that up, and I want to admit that I didn't know, and I didn't say anything in that room, but I'll bring it to this one.
Yes. And I do think there's a future where we somehow get launched some kind of fund for women in business.
Yeah.
To teach women how to invest and teach women about the terms and create our own fund and do some cool stuff. So that would be an incredible vision.
Yeah, I definitely have that same vision for Renegade for sure, and for just being able to do more to support each other.
Yeah.
We're hoping that you will love our new version of this show and tune in. And last season, we really talked about the basics of buying a business, and we spent most of our time in acquisition deals. And not necessarily in the business ownership aspect. And I think I always wanted to talk about the whole thing. And so this season, we're going to talk about acquisitions. Yes, when people have bought and sold, there's transactions there, but we're also going to bring in some more of the business ownership, entrepreneurship aspects of building something that is successful and that does support you as a leader in the community.
Yeah, things that have been started from scratch, or things that's come out of a partnership, or things that come out of a side hustle, and then suddenly you're creating something. So I think those experiences help everyone see there's so many paths into owning a business. It's not just one or the other. There's lots. Yeah,
and you don't need to, people who don't have business degrees, people who do have business degrees, people who got here accidentally, people who just were, bullish over an idea. Like we want to explore a lot of that. People who have kids, people who don't have kids, people who are juggling many things,
lots of ways to do it, and not one way to do it right. Lots of ways to do it right.
Yeah. Yeah. So we hope that you enjoy this season. We ask you to like, subscribe, share, and help us get this word out. It is for and about women business owners, but we talk about a lot of things that are applicable outside of our community, and we are kind of everyone's welcome. And so we hope that you help us share this message and story.
Please. If you have ideas for great people to interview, we'd love to have some ideas.
I don't know how to end it.
We're off.
We're
Here
off
we go.
with our sparkle jackets.
Sparkle jackets on. We're ready to rock.